Jonathan Frakes talks about his return to Star Trek. Kate Mulgrew apparently gets into some hot water. And we get the official announcement of the writing team for the untitled Star Trek Nickelodeon series. Let's power it up. Okay, so first up, we have a quick tweet that basically showcases the entire writing team for the new untitled Nickelodeon Star Trek show. We don't know a lot about this show other than the fact that it will be centered more towards a younger kid audience, whereas Lower Decks is more towards like a teenage audience mixed with adults, which is kind of more like Rick and Morty, whereas Nickelodeon is going to be kind of more for younger children, but potentially has some appeal to, I guess, a general audience, but we don't really know much else beyond that. We did get some little tidbit news that it's going to be something related to like a misfit group finding a derelict starship and then going on an adventure, but that was a little while ago, and who knows if that's even necessarily going to be the actual case now. It could be something different by the time we actually see it, because obviously if they've just announced the writers, this whole thing could change throughout the development process. But congratulations to that team. I really look forward to seeing whatever products we may be getting. Hopefully we'll get some more information from Star Trek Las Vegas, which officially kicks off tomorrow and goes all the way through into the weekend. Now, I'm going ahead and want to let everyone know that this video is going to be rather short, obviously, because we just have a few news stories to cover, and Las Vegas Star Trek convention is huge, and we're probably going to get a whirlwind of information, kind of like what we got for San Diego Comic-Con, so expect several more Earl Grey episodes throughout the week to try to keep everybody informed as to what's going on, as I share my thoughts as to whatever it is that's happening within the realm of Star Trek. Okay, so the next story that I want to talk about is something from Jonathan Frakes. He did an interview a couple of days ago with IGN where he just kind of talked a little bit about his return, him and Marina Sirtis' return to Star Trek Picard, and his experience so far filming with the entire series. Now, in the interview, Jonathan Frakes says that him and Marina Sirtis' character, Counselor Troi, are still together, but it's not in the way that we necessarily think, saying, quote, it's non-military, which I think is a really, exaggerated way of saying that he is no longer in Starfleet, or perhaps whatever time that they meet up, the storyline meets up with the Rikers, they're not necessarily in a Starfleet type situation. And he also says that they are still together, but again, it may not necessarily be exactly what we expect. So I don't know what that means, but I guess we'll find out. He also says while he was filming on set that the feeling of filming the Picard show was drastically different from filming Discovery, in that it's not as cinematic and as grand scoping scale as Discovery, whereas Picard does have those moments, but it is more filtered through a lens of character-driven stories. Now, that's really great news. I think something that a lot of people would like to know more about is what the different styles and tone are between Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard, and from what we're hearing, at least from his perspective of the 2 episodes that he confirmed that he filmed, that they are more focused on the characters and less about the spectacle. So this is still sounding really great, and I can't wait to see what the episodes were that he filmed and how those translate onto his goals and visions and what he's saying translate onto on screen. Also, in regards to Jonathan Frakes, he was recently at GalaxyCon, and fan of the channel Thomas, I want to say your name is Midor, don't yell at me if I mispronounce your name. He sent me some information because he was at the Q&A panel with Jonathan Frakes, where he basically recapped all the information that we already know about his return from Star Trek Picard, but he did let slip 2 bits of information. One, that other characters are going to appear in Picard that we don't already know about. Now, we've already theorized about potentially like a LaForge return, maybe even a Worf return at some point, but he seemed to be kind of talking about other expansive characters. Now, could that mean a Wesley Crusher appearance? Could that mean Q? Could that mean anybody from really just Picard's past overall from the entire TNG run? It could mean any character that could be, or necessarily outside of TNG. I think they would try to focus in on TNG since it's Star Trek Picard, but they brought in 7 of 9, so who the heck knows what they could be talking about. So we got that one bit, and then the other bit is that he said that he did film one sequence, one episode, I should say, and one of the sequences where he was filming with Picard, Patrick Stewart, was them walking through a trail in the, in like the forest, and they wound up on a dock, and a beautiful dock, and that they enjoyed that sequence together. So I think that kind of connects back to him saying that it's a non-military type setting where maybe we're meeting the Rikers chilling at the house. Maybe they're retired. Maybe he's an ambassador. Maybe he's going, who the heck knows what's going on there. But it definitely doesn't seem like he was on board the Titan, but that does not exclude the fact that we might see the Titan. I still believe that we will, because it costs X dollars for them to produce a digital mock-up of what the Titan could possibly look like, an official alpha canon, for them to then license that out for merchandisers to then sell even more of, especially if they change it by 25% or whatever. if they change it, then everyone has to pay for a new version of the Titan that's the official one. So I still believe that we're going to see it at some point, whether in a flashback sequence or whatnot, but at least that's not what we've gotten revealed to us through Jonathan Frakes' Q&A sessions just yet. Another thing that we're going to go ahead and talk about is, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of like a non-story, but apparently several other news clickbait article outlets have picked this up, and some people have messaged me asking me what my opinion of it was. And we have this Radio Times interview with Kate Mulgrew. She was kind of doing the rounds a little bit, talking about the end of Orange is the New Black, which she's a star of, and she was, of course, asked about Star Trek and its resurgence and, you know, her relationships to those different producers from back in the day, and she let slip that she felt as though that while times are a-changing, they are changing very slow for women in acting roles and in the workplace, and referenced the original series as being extremely misogynistic, and stating that even Roddenberry himself was misogynistic. Come on, it was the 60s. Everyone was a little misogynistic in the 60s. It's not like they've got Gene Roddenberry in an interview saying a bunch of weird, creepy stuff. That would be ridiculous.
Marriage, I had 2 lovely daughters, and I had the joy in that marriage of girls. And girls are such delicious, sweet-smelling, wonderful things. I can still remember when they would be so clean and their hair done, their starched dresses, and how when they would bend over, the dresses would come up, and you'd see the panties, and little girls are just totally beautiful things.
Okay, but for real though, I don't know why people are kind of like harping on Kate Mulgrew about saying that Gene Roddenberry was misogynist. That's feel like something that we've already all known for a while. I feel like maybe it's because I do a lot of research with Star Trek stuff. I've known that for a while, but if you're unaware, he has a reputation for being kind of a creeper, for being a bit of a sexist, and for just kind of having a weird attitude about women in general. And yes, it was the 60s, and yes, it was as progressive as it could be in that regard, but there were also times, like she even said in her interview, Picard show, the TNG show is what she means, not Picard the character, but necessarily, but the TNG show as a whole carried a lot of those things with them over time, and eventually they kind of got washed out and kind of got cleared through. And I mean, she's right in what she's saying. I mean, I agree with what she's saying there. It seems to be kind of obvious. I don't know why this is kind of a story. I don't know if maybe some of these folks like Nerdrotic or, you know, this Bounding Into Comics website or whatever it is have never heard this story about Gene Roddenberry before, so maybe this was news to them, so they were kind of shocked by it, and that's why they felt offended. But if you just do a little bit, a modicum of research, you will find that Gene Roddenberry is kind of a weird guy, and Star Trek has had many, 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 many examples of being sexist on screen. Some cases it gets confused for character stories that's going on, but other cases certainly not. All right, let's go ahead and jump right into the rumor rundown. So there are no real rumors right now. I think it's great to know that the Brian Fuller story was stolen by Alex Kurtzman thing has kind of died. I think after several other news outlets, including myself, covered it, I think a lot of people were like, oh, that doesn't really make any sense. I feel like there's a lot more going on there, and that's great. I engaged a lot of you with a lot of different conversations. A lot of you are looking at, some of you are looking at this bit of information and all these other facts and arriving at a different conclusion. Not to say that you're wrong, it's just that I disagree with you, and I think a lot of people look at these things from an objective standpoint with just the facts would agree with my viewpoint, but I'm understanding that you arrive at a different conclusion, and I guess we'll find out as time moves on. If Brian Fuller files a lawsuit or he files a WJ complaint or whatever it is, we will find out more about what's going on, but as of right now, I think this is kind of a non-story, but I just wanted to wrap that up from last episode. All right, let's go ahead and go into the comment of the week. And this comment of the week comes from User Systems, and it says, why do all of these reviews have a douchey rapid-fire voice? Well, Systems, if I just kept talking in one long, incredibly unbroken sentence, moving from topic to topic so that no one had a chance to interrupt, it'd be really quite hypnotic. But really, Systems, you gotta go quick, man. People don't stick around for YouTube videos very long, especially ones talking about Star Trek. So, sorry this bothers you, but I guess you could always hit that speed, drop it down a little bit, then you can talk and listen to me like that. Anyways, guys and gals, that wraps up today's Earl Grey Pour Up. Again, we're not really going into too many news stories because I do feel like we're going to be getting hit pretty hard coming up with Star Trek Las Vegas. If you haven't already checked out Star Trek Las Vegas' schedule yet, if you are going, you absolutely should check it out because that's how you know where everything's happening and when. But if you haven't and you're not going there and you want to check it out, they have it up on their website. It's definitely something worth looking at. It seems as though, based off of the schedule, that a lot of the interesting stuff is happening at the end of the week as opposed to the beginning of the week, which I think is just, I think it's just part of business, but at the same time, though, they didn't schedule Patrick Stewart time on the calendar for him to come in and announce a new Picard show. So who knows what's going to happen? It could happen at any moment in time. What am I talking about? I'm talking about Anson Mount announcing Pike series. It's happening. I believe it. Anyways, guys and gals, that wraps up today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please let me know what you guys and gals think about this whole Kate Mulgrew situation. Do you think that she was wrong? Do you think that she's just stating things that are obvious, or do you think something else entirely? I'm curious to hear what all of you guys and gals think about that. And what do you think about this announcement of the Nickelodeon show? And what do you think that's going to look like long-term for Star Trek? I'm curious to hear what all of you guys and gals think about that. I can't wait to talk to you down in the comments, and let's get this conversation started. Live long and prosper, my Trekkies!